Good evening and welcome on the spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. Now, about an hour ago, President Yoweri Museveni was addressing the nation on matters of security, the bomb threats, and what the UPDF is doing in the Congo, and also giving the results of that fight in the Congo, the preemptive strike that has been undertaken by the UPDF. Tonight, we'll be looking into the address to the nation by the President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And my guests, all of them are members of parliament. I have the Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka, I have the Honorable Brandon Kintu, and Honorable Geoffrey Ekanya. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having honored our invitation. Honorable Geoffrey Ekanya, thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Honorable Brandon Kintu, thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
And Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, and good evening, viewers.
Let me begin with you, Honorable Abdallah, because you sit on a committee of parliament that talks security and defense, right?
Right, I sit there together with my colleagues.
Yes, yeah. First of all, your appreciation, if you listen in or watched the President's address.
There was nothing to appreciate. I'm honest. I'm honest, and the only record which was made, to be honest, today he was so brief. I think
he was surprised. He was pleasantly brief. Was that a pleasant surprise for you?
I think it took for around 50 minutes or less. Brief. To me, there was nothing which was new. Believe me, there is nothing which has never talked about. Talking about the ADF, all the time you see issues of terrorism and acts of bombing here. They got a scapegoat. Always when there is a bombing here, it is ADF, there is nothing else. So I have been around for some good time, and I bother to read. I read the book of Kazora, where they were talking about that during their...
Is that
struggles.
Betrayed by My Leader? Which one?
Yes.
Betrayed by My Leader.
Where he was saying that during their times of struggle, they used to plant those bombs. And I'm worried if that practice has not insisted for all these 39 years. Because there is only one thing which I have challenged NRM government and President Museveni. If they are sincere and honest to fight terrorism and ADF, which is always a scapegoat, there is one button which they have deliberately refused to press. They have tried all others and they have failed. I want to hear, because you heard him when he was concluding that I'm sure we are going to, even if they surrender, we are going to make sure that we arrest them, we take them to court. They may not be killed, but we shall make sure that they are jailed forever. And then what is the essence of amnesty? If people are surrendering themselves, I think less than a month.
But let me ask you this, because the President in his address talked of having put out of action 500 armed fighters, talked of about 50 who have been captured in battle, talked of over 30 who have surrendered, talked of some people who have been rescued. Abdallah, you don't appreciate that?
I don't believe him. Of course he's saying that. Actually, they said that recently they captured around 7, and they got around 57 machine guns around there. And I was wondering, you see, Mr. Museveni fell short. Of course, he's saying that they deployed in Congo. He fell short of telling the country whether they went through all the legal procedures to deploy outside the country. It is more than a year ever since we called that, and we almost got tired. You see, you remind a person, you are supposed to do this, he doesn't do that. He fell short of mentioning anything close to that. 2, ADF has become like a jigger. If at all they exist, Of course, because I also doubt.
So, Abdullah, so you, at this moment, you think there is no fighting force in the Congo that is called the Allied Democratic Force that is against the government or the UPDF? You believe there's no such a force?
There is no such.
So you think what happened in Uganda or Rubiriha was an inside job? Ugandans killing Ugandans?
How do you reach a conclusion that that was ADF? One, ever since the existence of ADF, or even those attacks when they were made, no single arrest has been made. No trial has been conducted. No conviction has been sustained. So what could make me believe for all these years? Jamil Mukuru is inside for more than I think now 4 years, 5 years. What could make me think that there is ADF? If there is ADF, we have institutions here like Amnesty, which I have told you about. Mr. Museveni has been sitting, various rebels is sitting with recently he opted to sit with some of, sitting with some opposition MPs, opposition colleagues and what have you to make sure that they come and ally with him. What is so different, or what is preventing him to sit with ADF for the last 25 years? Because since the years 2000, the ADF has been here. What is that reason Mr. Museveni can advance, which is preventing him? Because we want total peace in this country.
Let me go.
What is that reason he can advance to prevent him to sit with ADF?
Let me come to your colleagues. Honorable Brandon
peace.
You speak for the NRM party in Parliament caucus. You also sit with him on the same committee on matters of security, and he's just seated next to you there. Actually, he thinks there's no ADF.
Actually,
what do you tell your colleague?
I am wondering whether this is the member I sit with on the committee, that we are supposed to do oversight.
We are assuming this is what you do.
Me and the honorable here, we have been to Somalia. And they were making the same sentiments. He's saying here that the rebels are not there. I think he was the first. He calls me, I call him Muko because I've supplied him a lot from the kingdom in Busoga. And he told me, hey, Muko, this is really just fine. We should actually support. I think now the names have been changing, that we should support UPDF to make sure that peace is prevailed in Somalia. And I think now this is a challenge to our new committee leadership, that probably we need to do a benchmark so that I can visibly, we take him to Congo to see. But he knows as a security person who sits and he contributes, one of our best members on that committee. And he does us a very great job. But now, you cannot blame my MP here, my member of the committee, for one reason. They are in activism politics. As we are in charge of power, the president, I expect actually Ekanya here, when he starts talking, to appreciate President Museveni for taking his diligent duty as the first citizen who took an oath to protect Uganda. He's the commander of UPDF. Let's look at the roles of UPDF. He is taking the mandate even to explain. You know, when you talk about security, Kamara, we are not talking about lipstick or these other mandazi or things like deodorants. These are serious matters. But if the head of state comes out publicly, he even tells you, when the honorable says that no arrests, we are talking about rebels. If your house catches fire, are you going to first ask where did the other cover of the jerrycan is to get water to pour? These are issues. I'm surprised because as MPs we know that we have committees like the East African community. We are getting into the East. How do you get into a community that is unstable? The champion of this cause and this campaign is President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. And his brothers and sisters in the neighboring countries have joined. We have a lot we are trading. We have a lot in common we are sharing with this country, Congo. I remember one time we were arguing, people were asking, I know somewhere it will come, why would you have to construct roads that are going to Congo? How should we expand our economic base as East African? Why would we even hold a passport? Because we all hold the passports here, different passports, but they all have the East African community, even if it's a diplomatic or service that me and Ekanya and Abdallah hold. How should we lament, and yet we are looking at an East African community that is gathered? Will you cut out the issue of security? The rebels have been there, and this country, has a unique history. We have had even members who have been in opposition before. They have been championed. We have had the Bigombes, the Nobat Mao, champion. There are negotiations. But we shall not come on the TV, Kamara, and try to explain. We have had this negotiation. These countries, before they enter in different countries, he knows, he's a lawyer. I was just studying to become a preacher. But he knows that we have bilateral agreements that we sign between the countries. So we are not just waking up. These countries may seek help from someone who is close.
He raises another important issue, that there's a requirement for the commander-in-chief and the UPDF commanders to brief parliament, so at least to have an endorsement of parliament before you deploy boots on the ground in a foreign territory. You never did that. They never did that.
We have had those discussions, even with him on the floor of parliament. He knows that our committees, as a lawyer, that our committees have the authority, almost the High Court. He knows that we have the mandate to summon. We have summoned the CDF. We have some, you know, how does the president address parliament? Just a minute. How does? We all know the rules, we know the procedure of parliament. The president delegates. The president has ministers. We have a minister of defense. Let him deny that the minister of defense has not come to our committee. And sometimes there are some instances, let me just find my reason. There are some instances where, because the Constitution is very clear, if we read that clause very clearly, extensively, we can understand when. I want to assure that Parliament has been briefed. We all sit and we are all active members in that Parliament. Parliament was briefed.
Through the
maybe before, but we had somebody burning us. We had ADF here bombing. If that bomb had come to the Parliament, him and Ekany and me would not be surviving. Even you as a journalist who would come there to investigate and maybe report. So let's look at there are some issues of emergence, but the way Parliament is addressed, Parliament was addressed,
the
minister came,
Jeffrey,
and all those members that are concerned came to our committee.
Okay, gentlemen, let me come to Honorable Jeffrey. Abdullah, hold Abdullah. Let me come to Honorable Jeffrey Kanya, because you know, you've listened to these two gentlemen and your colleagues in Parliament. Maybe Abdullah fell short of saying what the UPDF are doing in the Congo. Maybe they are soldiers of fortune, are they? Because if there's no ADF, then that makes them soldiers of fortune.
The question of ADF existing, nobody should deny. It is a fact. ADF exists. Maybe they're being abused and being used. But ADF is there. Supporters and some elements and remnants have been produced in court. Abdallah is a lawyer, he can check. Some gentlemen who came from Kenya, they were involved here. When we had bombs in this city, people were killed in Muyenga, in the rugby ground. So it is a matter of him making reference to record. And some people are maimed up to today.
Kamara, you can correct that. There were two terrorist groups. So, the one which is based in Somalia was called a different name.
No, you see,
those ones who were tried under those
Al-Shabaab.
They work together. They are networked. ICC, the Al-Shabaab, ADF, they are networked. And issues of security does not know religion, does not know political parties. In fact, some of us in opposition, are more timid and coward. We are easy to talk. But I have been in opposition. I move in the night. I move during daytime because of the facts. The rebels exist, and some of us have rejected their approach to take over power. And that's why we have delayed. And part of this is caused by Mr. Museveni, because he believes that you cannot take over power peacefully without the use of the gun. ADF is a conduit for proliferation of minerals in the DRC. Record shows that Rwanda, Uganda, we export minerals that doesn't exist in this country. You have kind of clan leaders, tribal leaders within that region of Kivu and so forth, who have militias, and they are supported. There's trafficking of arms, and all this operation takes place in the Rwenzori. I've lost so many of my dear friends who died in that Rwenzori region. You know them. And therefore, as much as I don't agree with Mr. Museveni, the recent security threat was even issued by the UK government and the US government, you know it. And it is good that now the UPDF and all other institutions within East Africa were able to nip the disaster that was going to happen, and we should not take anything for granted.
Okay, let me come back.
But my concern
Yes.
before is Mr. Museveni not aligning to the Constitution. The Constitution is categorical. Such a situation of security threat and scare demanded the President to appear to address Parliament, not to address the country through the press. There is acting outside the Constitution. Taking UPDF to any foreign country demands him to appear to address the country through Parliament. Those days he used even to call us to a closed session of Parliament. But now he's taking Parliament for granted, and we need to call him to question.
You are the spokesperson of the parliamentary caucus of the NRM. Why is the commander-in-chief and your party chairman working in total disregard of the parliament?
First of all, Honorable Kanye has told you that security is the most paramount thing. All over, I think also in heaven, because I believe God has those serious angels, so that Satan cannot have any penetration. When you discuss the constitutional issues, I think the President is a custodian of this Constitution. There are channels, and I don't think when the President was addressing members of Parliament, he told you he was watching 50 minutes, and he's a member of Parliament. Even Honorable Kanya watched. But I think
I
watched, because that's why I'm not complaining that I was not addressed as Parliament, because I got the information very well. But I think as we talk about security that we all need, the way Honorable Kanya said, there are certain things, there are some emergencies. Like I said, issues of security will not just come up like a group of saving and then we have to stipulate the do's and the don'ts. But the President is a very, very senior citizen who respects the rule of law, is a custodian of the Constitution, and I still believe that at a very appropriate time, because he has been addressing us, he will still call us. He has just addressed us recently, and there is no single day the President addresses us as Parliament he doesn't mention the issues of security. But these guys, my colleagues, the honorary members who are seated here, you know what they do? Call you press and say we are boycotting. Even the recent address, when the President came to Parliament, none, Abdallah was not there, and the Honorable Kanye was not there. So I think we should also zeal on the spirit that I'm very happy what Honorable Kanye said. This concerns all of us, because it will not, issues of security and human rights, they are embedded in all of us. So I think as a country, we have the Attorney General. We can still question and find a way that we can legalize these operations. But for the issues of security and our neighbors, we all need it. We should support and we should appreciate that this must end, because the President has a right. He makes the oath to keep all Ugandans.
Okay, Abdallah, at the beginning you seem to have doubted whether these bomb threats were real. I know deception can be part of an art of war. Did you really think that this is part of deception? There are no bomb threats?
And it is not only me.
Yeah, I've seen that.
All Ugandans know that this is just a scarecrow to create an impression that there is something unusual in the country. Good enough, the President has tried to be categorical on this. Maybe they did not plan it well, and he want to bring back the Ugandans to normal situation, that nothing shall happen. Of course, all the measures he's proposing, many Ugandans have been applying them, that when you go to church, do like this and do like this. To the markets, these things have been happening in Chikubo. Ever since the Americans won, they have put there some gadgets to check Ugandans. That's not to this. The usual precaution measures have always been taken. Even me, before I enter my car, I have to first go and check each and every door to see whether it is tight. Somebody might have entered and thrown in something. The usual precautions we normally take. But that's notwithstanding. I have told you we have been around for some good time. And I continue to raise pertinent issues. The challenge with my brothers and sisters in this country is when you raise them, they simply keep quiet or they brush you off. I have said, for example, Jamiru Mukulu, who is alleged to have been the topmost commander of ADF. I think it is now 7 years, if not 6 years, in detention. No single conviction, if at all the evidence is there. The topmost commander of ADF. I don't know anyone who was convicted of those offenses of not only terrorism, but treason and misprision of treason.
Yeah, no. I think that's a very important point you're raising. Honorable Kanya, if I can come to you there. If you have the topmost commander arrested in Tanzania, extradited to Uganda, he's in the Ugandan cell, and a colleague is saying no conviction, I mean, what explains that?
You see, part of the reason, and you see the issue of security, legal aspect, and politics is in play in
economy, because there is gold somewhere,
yes,
as you said.
Economy in handling the issue of Jamil Mukulu, because as it is known, I think one of the reasons government may not want to convict, they may not have sufficient evidence, but also they might be using him to continue gathering more information. Exactly. If you hand him complete to the judicial system, then you lose that touch to keep in touch with him, to continue gathering more information, and to understand the operations of the group of ADF. And to me, I think that is the angle government has opted to take. And maybe with the time, until they are satisfied that they can, maybe they'll try to have a discussion with him. You know, Mr. Museveni always speaks to several constituencies. You know, he can publicly say, we are not going to talk, we don't want to negotiate, we shall eliminate, we shall kill, but he's talking to ordinary Ugandans, showing that I am the big man here.
I'm in charge.
I'm in charge. But while behind the door is having a dialogue that will lead him to the intended objective. And then tomorrow when the chief city tells you, you see, the other day I told you, nobody can play around with me. But you see, I also hold certain very strategic position. I'm the president coordinating Uganda in the 12-member state of Great Lakes on the issue of peace and stability of the 12-member state. We have a mission in all these countries, and we do reports working with other institutions of UN. The question of insecurity and armed proliferation is a big business by international organizations. And we as citizens of Uganda and members of parliament, we need to reject this because it takes us backward. We become a market.
So now you, as in the Great Lakes region, and when you look at the security, when you look at Eastern Congo, areas of Kivu and Ituri and all those regions, what is happening there, it could be on a foreign territory. Congo is an independent state. But what is happening in Ituri and Kivu is more of a headache for Kampala than Kinshasa. So moving forward, how will those issues be solved? Because the UPDF is not going to be there in perpetuity.
Yeah, that is true. By the way, it might not be a headache for only Kampala, because as you speak now, you know, the entire SADC force has been drawn to that conflict. Earlier, the entire East African region, we appreciate that we are losing. We are a market. First of all, we are being killed and our minerals being taken. We appreciate that Congo is part of Uganda and part of East Africa and would be the biggest beneficiary if we eliminate the threat of insecurity. The better for all of us. Because today, let me tell you, 30% of this economy is supported by that region in terms of the market, you know, for all our industrial products. But we are also supporting the purchase of arms to kind of reduce the conflict. I agree with the Honorable Abdallah, because for how long are we going to have UPDF there in perpetuity? The president needs to come and to address parliament so that he can answer. The question of him sending his minister of defense is not constitutional. It is the president who is supposed to address parliament on matters of security. And when such a threat comes, he has to come and appear. Because let me tell you, I have been here and you know for some time. This will lead to supplementary budget for the UPDF. So,
Honorable Brandon, the president has a constitutional obligation to come and address himself, Parliament, on matters of deployment outside the borders. Ugandan men and women are in Congo. Some of them will come back in the body bags, but he hasn't addressed the Parliament. Why that disregard of Parliament again?
The president has never done anything unconstitutional. I told you he's a law-abiding citizen. And Article 1 of our Constitution clearly says that power belongs to the hands of the people. But maybe before I go into that slightly deeper, Honorable Abdallah raised here an issue. You see, when we're talking about security, Jamil Mukulu has really caused a lot of pain, not only to Uganda, but to other countries where he's been. When you're talking about investigation, he even knows when we go out there to investigate. it takes some time. The man who has killed our students in different schools here, else everywhere, put the region at risk, how do you expect in a period of 5 years that you would just come out? They are still collecting evidence. We want to deep out this. Who knows if you will hurriedly come out? And this is justice. You know, I think you are interesting me to go and study law, because justice also has its cost. This is not, Uganda is not the only country. There are so many countries. Even in The Hague, there are people who are still there and they are still investigating. So I think we wouldn't look at that as people, but we should look at how do we end this. Because you are the people who's telling us when there is any insecurity, they are demanding. You call ministers on the floor of parliament, you demand they have killed so government come. Government is trying to cure. Because we should not only work on prevention. Now, whether the president has a constitutional mandate, and somehow in some clauses, you know, the constitution is like a Bible. Are you a Christian, Patrick? When you read this Bible, sometimes you get confused. The Bible will tell you there is no any chest or any forehead of a drunkard that will see the kingdom of God. The same Bible, somewhere you go, it will tell you, you drink little but never get drunk. So we ought to understand our constitution, but this constitution protects the rights of Ugandans and the rights of the people, and I don't think the president can abuse. There are some channels that he can be challenged because he's a citizen, though he has the other protection, but he has not done anything unconstitutional, at least through, and I want to insist the way Honorable, maybe what Honorable Kanya says that he should not, but we also have avenues to raise that.
Let me tell you why the constitution provides for him to come and address on matters of security, so that parliament can debate, because the insecurity has issues of financial implication and you have to appropriate.
Actually,
now,
that
if he addresses the press,
now, Honorable, you have to blame Honorable Abdallah here, because he knows that those reports we have debated. So it's our Committee of Defense that has not brought a report to Parliament, me and Abdallah, so that Parliament can conclusively.
No.
But there is a constitutional obligation for him to appear before Parliament as Commander-in-Chief when you are deploying outside the borders.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what has not been done.
If we can find that article, when you read it slightly deeper, there is some provision. There are some places which we can also agree that there are emergencies, whereby, like now, we have been sent on recess.
No.
To go and supervise. If there is an emergency, you expect
even that is they say within 70 days we can come.
Let's agree, Brandon. Ugandans are watching.
Yes, I know.
When you are spending now 2 years in Congo, I don't know whether you are still calling that one an emergency. We can appreciate.
Emergencies have no time.
No. We can appreciate. First of all, the whole world now knows. Even the people whom you are looking for, they know that you are looking for them. Can we still call it an emergency that you cannot come to Parliament? Even we gave you a leeway. You remember the expiring budget, which has just expired. We passed it for defense, that we are allowing you to spend this money, subject that you have to come to Parliament and you communicate, you seek permission of Parliament to spend money in Congo. You did not do that.
You hear that, Patrick? We have appropriated money, me and him, and we told them subject. Have they come back or not?
You did not.
Where is our mandate as committee?
You did not.
We can even
let me tell you, want to put it because the minister came to Parliament and explained the urgency. We said, okay, fine, as member, we are understanding it is an emergency. You need money, fine, you go and spend. But we need an explanation. We need a motion, Parliament to sanction you. Up to now, you have never done so. But not to divert me so much. There is some few issues which have been raising that maybe you don't want to listen to the Parliament. Me and you know that even when I'm seated here, you see during that process when the president is talking, our rules of procedure don't allow us to say anything, even to utter to the president, even to interrupt him.
In silence.
Even it is in silence. So I can be on my iPad and I listen to him. Am I not in Parliament by that? You know, our rules of procedure allow us to proceed via that. Notwithstanding, there is something which is very crucial. You are always the one who is communicating and sending messages across Parliament, because you are the chief communicator of NRM. Recently, you communicated. This government negotiated with some LRA people, rebels, who have been in Central African Republic, and you were soliciting your fellow NRM on the committee to go and receive them.
All of us, even you.
I did not go because I had no time for that. What I'm insisting on, those negotiations which are going on with LRA, which led to a group of you covered those news, that part of the news. LRA, you are negotiating with them. What is that big thing the ADF committed, where you don't even tolerate anything to negotiate with them?
ADF willing to talk? How
can we have here inter-religious council? Jamil Mukuru is there. And these people are attributed to be Muslims. You remember even because if you had me somehow about Haji Kasim name, that Haji Kasim name, whoever listened to him about Haji Kasim name, how they were using those Shaban Batariza names and what have you, Salim Saleh getting. We have sheikhs here. Sheikh Mubaje is in your bed. This Sheikh of Nakasero is in your bed. People in Chiburi, they're in your bed. Why don't you use them to go and negotiate with ADF if you cannot sit with them? How will you know? How did you reach LRA? How did you know that LRA are willing to talk when you have not tried? I personally am telling me, I have told the nation, even I'm here, Mr. Museveni is there watching. I'm ready to spearhead that struggle to go and talk to ADF. Give me mandate. I go and look for them wherever they are. He cannot even, because he knows that that thing is non-existent.
Okay, Musa Baluku Abdullah is coming. Because the new command, I'm told, is called Musa Baluku. But okay. He's raising a very...
maybe before you come
very controversial.
I needed to inform him that there is a government in this country. And government operates in different structures. Like I said earlier, we are not going to call a public rally elsewhere, like saying Toro municipality. You people come, we've negotiated, we have this. I'm giving information.
No. Well, are you aware that Mao spearheaded the talks with LRA?
But that
wasn't there a government?
That was a process. And I'm telling you this, that
no one wants to start this process.
Inter-religious council. We are there. People are negotiating. But we also tactful as government. If we would lead Abdallah now with the words that just spitted here, and you give him that you can lead and let's have the negotiation, you'll be the first man to blow our tactics. So as government, we are in charge, and we are taking all mandates to make sure that Abdallah, when you go in your yams plantation in Mukono, you are safe. And there is no bomb, you are not attacked. You can come and do your legislation.
25 years.
People of Mukono.
Let me come to you, Honorable Jeffrey. You know, your honorable members, your colleagues, Abdallah, actually thinks, and other people, by the way, I've seen a lot of keyboard ninjas who are thinking that this so-called bomb it was actually deceptive. What do you read from that? There are many people who have not believed this.
You see, it is unfortunate. You see, the U.S. Government issued a security threat. I'm sure you
yes.
got it.
An alert.
An alert. And the last time it was issued by the UK government. And the one that went on and people died, even in front of Parliament, those people got injured, it was after the UK government. And based on my position where I stand, some of these militias and the rebels around the world, they buy arms from these foreign governments. And that's how the foreign governments are able to pick eavesdrops, whatever they are planning. And they're able to share information. So it is very unfortunate that people want to see the bomb going on so that they agree that truly we have survived. To me there, I agree with the president because there's a lot going on from the position where I sit. But receiving information and acting outside the constitution and not following procedure is where I disagree with the government. Government needs to come so that they are called to account. Because this is scare and threat which the government has managed to nab and create calm is going to lead to supplementary expenditure. And if these officers cannot be called to account and really ask hard questions, the one my brother is talking about, people are going to ask for trillions of shillings and they will not account. We ask them, okay, And in the closed session, by the rules of procedure provides for such a matter of security that is classified in nature, you can have a closed session of parliament, even committees of parliament, and you take them through for 2 years. You have had UPDF there. Tell us, according to the information we have, and some of this information we can get from the international organization, from East African Security and so forth. Tell us how many ADFs have you arrested, how many, where did they acquire arms, and so many classified information. But because government does not want to account to the citizen of Uganda, they just address the press the way the president has done. So we cannot debate and cause the minister of defense, the chief of armed forces, head of CMI, the head of police, to come and account for the resource that they are using. And so it leads to failure. Nobody's accounting on the money, and therefore even the officers in the field in DRC will not be accounting. And so it becomes a business. And this is what we as members of parliament need to make sure that we bring it to a stop.
Honorable Abdallah, I still want to know why you are skeptical about these bomb threats. Do you believe that maybe the UPDF does not have the capacity, both the human element and the technological assets, to gather intelligence to be able to nip some of these threats in the bud?
For example, you can think and deeply think. Of course, there is a bomb scare which was made at the church, Miracle Center. But also think about the bomb blast which was planted in a certain room down there, a single room down there, when there is Chikubo, when there is the other markets and what have you. What do you think would be the motive of that terrorist? To go into someone's single room, and you go to Bunamwaya in a single room and you plant it there, when there is Chikubo, when there is a taxi somewhere which is not protected, when there is what could be the motive? These are things which make us think, because intelligence take you through all these things. What could be the motive? Yes, we have prevented this bomb from, or we have caused it to blast and what have you, no more danger and what have you. But you look at the motive. First of all, there are other churches which are always open from morning up to evening. People are always going there. You go here at this one of Bujingo. People are always there. Who are waiting at the side when there are no people there and they say that they have planted there the bomb? So there are several questions which could lead to questioning more that at least there are no, these things are just fake. For example, the last one, Luberia. Parliament stood on its ground when they produced a Shaberi statement. I think now we are in 4 months, ever since the Luberia incident happened.
Just call it Nyabugando, which is here.
No statement has been produced in Parliament. I was in Parliament, we questioned the minister to go and prepare a thorough, because it was missing so many things about the schools and what have you, the distance from one police station to another, up to now. Now another incident is happening. Secondly, my brother, as you are saying, you should also know that when we get intelligence reports from various agencies or embassies, it could not necessarily be pointing to terrorists. I'm taking you through what Mr. Museveni and colleagues used to do when they were in the bush. They used to do these very things which are happening.
Actually, today he told us he was using a pseudonym of Haji Kasim.
Yes.
Of Haji Kasim.
Haji Kasim. If you had him well. And that's how the Salim Salazar said they acquired those names. The intelligence could even be picked from the government itself when it is planning. Maybe to do a scarecrow, to create an impression that you see. You can also think, did you read the tweet? I think I read it on the tweet of NTV or the Monitor Media.
Nation Media.
Nation Media. What this chief spokesperson of UPDF said immediately after those bomb scares crossed. Now you people of Nopua in the meetings, we are no longer now concerned. If you continue being in the meetings, we are not concerned at all. What was the intention? These are things which lead us to a conclusion that at least these bombs were created to create an impression that please, no more gathering, the situation is not okay in the country, be alert. But in actual sense, when the government itself is the one planning those things.
Those are very serious.
Abdallah, can I ask
Those are very serious allegations from a member of parliament that sits on the security committee.
Yes,
He has powers to
yes.
summon, but is he lamenting, crying on the television?
You see, such a situation, by the some governments do it, but where the economy is, for any government to do undercover security threat, it has a serious impact on the tourism industry. When the economy is not doing well, the shilling is losing ground. We have a threat of the international financing institution withdrawing funding, and we need to collect every shilling. And there is no serious issue that government would like to negotiate. If maybe we are heading towards election, yes. If there is another discussion, yes, you can create that scare so that maybe opposition, you stop them. But what is fundamental for government to create a scare, to stop tourists from coming in the country, to declare that our country is not safe even for business? You know, your theory sometimes works, but we need to interrogate it. And that's why we need the president to address parliament and the Minister of Defense to come to the floor, and we question and interrogate in detail. So because of lack of that opportunity which is provided in the Constitution, so you find that we now start serious speculation, which is not very good.
Gentlemen, hold on to your points, because we are going to take a break, and on the spot, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Amara. My guests tonight are Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka, Honorable Brandon Kintu, and Honorable Jeffrey Ekanya. We are assessing the president's speech that he just addressed the nation about 2 hours ago, and talking matters of security. I just want to bring to your attention, Honorable Ekanya, because you have an interest in the Great Lakes region, the security and stability. Just a few days back, the Congolese army was being accused of shooting its own people in Goma, over 100. But also, we have seen periodically the Congolese nationals themselves protesting against the UN. Sometimes has become even so deadly. So when we get into this kind of so diabolic
against our soldiers,
yes. So
when
we get into this kind of diabolic kind of situation, can we really, solve the problem?
The DRC government, the Congo government, the state of that is Western Congo.
Eastern Congo.
Yes, Eastern Congo. The central government in DRC has, since independence, had not have strong security control in that part. And yet that is part of Congo which is endowed with wealth. It is a very serious matter, and therefore you have militias controlling as well as government controlling. And therefore poverty, psycho-poverty and psycho-conflict. Even the officers of the armed forces of Congo, some of them are part of the militias. They get financing, so they are part of the network. And therefore the local people feel so suppressed, and they have had hopes that maybe the UN will bring about an end to this level of injustice, but that has not been achieved. And that's why sometimes they organize demonstration against the UN, because some UN officers stay there for too long and they get swallowed up in the corruption of mineral plundering.
So look at such a toxic situation, Brandon, that we have entered. The UN is not wanted there. The Congolese National Army is not wanted in Eastern Congo. It is accused of killing 100 people. We were taken as a country to the International Court of Justice. We are paying, for the plunder and the destruction of the Congolese state, and the same army that is fined, and we are actually still paying. Yes. Even though whatever they looted, they never looted in the name of Uganda. They looted as individuals, but taxpayers' money is being used to pay the Congolese. Do we understand what we're getting into?
First of all, when a war erupts somewhere, it has no style and design. You cannot have a formula to attend to a war. like Honorable Kanya says, these people expected a lot. We have had wars even in Busoga here, like when almost some parts of the country here have experienced. So also the geographical location. I also condemn, that's why in Uganda, when we take our forces to Somalia or elsewhere, even what Honorable Abdallah is talking about at the 2 years, I know we still do shifts because he knows they keep on. They have a short-time contract. Because these people will get domesticated within the area, some people will get married there, start producing kids, they'll get off the mission. So people will get frustrated because they expected. They are looking at these people like here. You remember we had some generals who went and came back with lots of things. Some of them were taken individually. So because of the nature of the war that takes place, there are so many calamities that happen. So I still strongly believe that when there is a dialogue, and now if we still have these common discussions we have at our different parliaments, but remember, the heads of security within these countries also meet and they have these discussions. So I agree with what one have said, people will riot, people, and of course, as the local people will not put a difference between who is UN, who is from Uganda, who is from Djibouti. They will just get rid, we are tired of this situation, and this is human. We want this to end.
Brandon, I want you to address the issue of us as a country losing a case at the International Court of Justice where Uganda was accused of plundering the Congo state. And there are commanders of the UPDF who were deployed in the Congo. They never looted in our name. If they did, they looted for themselves. Why are we using Ugandan taxpayers' money to pay for the loot of crimes of individual soldiers?
I may not have those facts, whether it's taxpayers' money, because it will be different if you're using money at your house. Put a different, this for Patrick and this is for my wife. But all I know, these people were charged individually, and I'm sure these people also had their own money. There are some people who are charged.
Someone who's declared that for him go to only one stick.
And now
the president himself,
you are suffocating my submission. Now, as to why, that's also for us as a country. Those questions, first of all, as they went, if Ekanya and my brother here went to Somalia, these are members of parliament. We go for benchmarking. Do you go there as Ekanya? Do you go there as Mlima Mayuni, or you go there as parliament? Who is doing official duty? So there are some aspects that are there. If we are, let's now check ourselves. But then also the other question, are you looking at the value of money vis-a-vis to what we should look at a bigger picture with the regions? How can you explain here very well? We have a bigger picture. So if we are looking at it money, taxpayers' money, whose money do you expect to pay for that? Because when Honorable Ekanya was in Somalia, he is not there as Honorable Ekanya from Tororo. He's there as a member of parliament from the Republic of Uganda. If anything happens, then the parliament or the government should be equally responsible. That's how I look at it. But let us not look at it at activism level. Why should we, the taxpayers, whose money were you expecting to pay? Should we pass? Because that's government. And the government should take care. If the responsibility was owned as Uganda People's Defense Forces, where does it lie? It's Uganda People's Defense Forces. Where is the government? It's the government of the people, by the people. We should take responsibility, but then learn from it. One time Poland was a very dwindling country. Government came up that whoever saves all your savings, like I think in the church they call that a decree, the bishop will make a decree. We should all get that money, come to the central bank, and we pay our debts. People suffered for 6 months, but look at where Poland is now. So there are some responsibilities as government when you are in charge that you take to save a certain situation. We shouldn't bring and put politics around it. If it was, we have a big picture that we are looking at as a nation to make sure we have this regional integration well. If people messed up, they went there to represent the country, but we shouldn't sing that. In my tradition, we have a saying, and I think Honorable Kanya, since he passes Busoga, that when you lose your mother, you don't die crying on the grave.
Okay. Okay, point made and point taken. But then, let me come to you, Abdallah. Don't you actually appreciate that President Yoweri Museveni and his army generals have tried what they can for almost 40 years to keeping this country together, and maybe the region and the influence? It takes military skill capability and expertise to do what they have done. Give it to them.
We appreciate.
Thank you.
But we appreciate. And a lot has been said about that. As you remember, there was a lot of talk about the Northern War of Kony, and and that is where my colleague is trying to downplay. People suffered under Kony. People lost their mouth. People lost lives. People lost property. All the northern Uganda people left and ran back the side, either they were abducted and what have you. Remember very well. And Kony has terrorized not only Uganda, has terrorized Congo, has terrorized Sudan, up to Central African Republic. Actually, the people who have just returned, they were picked from Central African Republic. LRA was declared to be a terrorist group. You are aware about that. You have, and this is where I insist. Thank you, Mr. Museveni. You have played your part to sit with LRA. LRA, Lord's Resistance Army, you have played your part. And good enough, what Ugandans need is peace. They don't need any other thing, whether you talk about whether it is gold, whether it is diamond. We only want peace. The way you have handled LRA, because I believe the actions which they have done, they could be maybe less to the actions done by ADF, but they fall into the same category. You have opted to sit with them. We are counting 25 years since the inception of.
By the way, what is happening with the LRA, they have degraded their capacity to wage war. It has not been that because they have come on the table. It has, whatever has happened, in my view, has been military.
But all in all, we are seeing plenty. We
don't have any agreement that happened that they signed, and now we have nothing.
They have Amnesty
incapacitated their capacity to fight.
Very soon they will be appearing before the Parliament, before the committee to explain. I'll endeavor to ask more about that. But what I can report ably is that I'm seeing hundreds and hundreds of former LRA or families related to the LRA who have been in Central African Republic.
Rescued, and
oh no, they have submitted, not rescued. They have accepted. They are tired of the war. They are tired, and they are back in the country.
I don't know what I think you didn't listen, because the president talked about people who have surrendered, and people have been rescued, and those have been killed in action in the Congo, the ADF rebels. Those who have survived, those who have been rescued, those who have surrendered, and those who have been captured in battle. And he gives the numbers. Perhaps you, as members of parliament, you may need to see them
under the ADF.
ADF.
Okay.
There are people who have surrendered.
If you had very well, and this is where I find it difficult, because under the amnesty, or the operations under the amnesty, once I opt to submit myself to the government that please, I'm tired of any rebellion against the government. I have some benefits, and I'm given some startup, and I go and I start my work and I settle peacefully in the country. Those extensions and benefits which are being given to those people in LRA, this is where I find the difficulty. Why is it that for Mr. Museveni to mention anything like peace with ADF, it is so difficult? Actually, you don't get surprised if I'm talking about peace with ADF tomorrow and I'm aligned before court. But I don't mind. I know how to defend myself. Why do you want to talk peace with ADF, yet the very same person is talking peace with LRA, or is pushing for activities which can call for those former rebels to come and settle back in the country? Look,
is there something perhaps you are skirting around and don't want to say, Abdallah? Are these matters of faith that you think are of concern to you, and perhaps there's a profiling of the Muslims?
I'm reluctant to drive it to that end.
Yeah, but you're skirting around it.
I'm reluctant. Why? Because Mr. Museveni mentioned it in his own speech. I don't know whether my colleagues, my colleagues had him well when he nicknamed himself Haji Kasim. And many, we know about Chief Ali and what have you. We know. Because they wanted to hide themselves under religion. And when we look at all, actually, recently, when I heard about that a terrorist has been arrested, my brains had to ring very fast. I'm going to hear a Muslim name who has been arrested. And immediately I heard a Muslim name who has been arrested, who was trying to do terrorism activities at the church. The only challenge I'm challenging Mr. Museveni and his government, we are counting 25 years. This gentleman has been arrested. By the way, Ekanya, you whom I have grown up admiring, some things which you should not grow, which you should not even move closer to. They should be left to the dictators. Once I'm arrested, even when you were arrested some time back, we were pushing for you to be prosecuted expeditiously. Because it is a call by the Constitution. Expeditiously, you speed a trial. When you arrest me, if you arrested Jamil Mukuru, actually that trial even could do anything now to go beyond that. It could be challenged. When you arrest me, you are entitled to expeditiously speed a trial, to try me expeditiously on a speeded trial. When you put me in custody for over 7 years, is it still justice?
But you know, in the event of terrorism, although things have been have changed more or less, because
I don't know
they have
any
presented
law. I don't know any law which says that when I'm charged of terrorism, I should be put in custody for over 7 years. I don't know any law.
What I know is that in the event of terrorism, the legal processes have sort of had a lot of challenges, including, you know, the rendition, the Guantanamo, and all the kind of stuff.
You know why?
It's because this is something new. But you have a point. I'm only giving examples of what has happened elsewhere in the world because of terrorism.
One way or the other, I think maybe what my brother here and Kenya would have said, that these people committed political offenses. When a politician is dealing with a politician who knows that very well, because we must know, first of all, as I told you, what we must tell the agenda of ADF. The agenda of ADF is to take over power. Okay? Not only because right from we heard about ADF that they wanted to come and capture this. Now they were recruiting to fight and take over the government. If you know that these people are fighting to take over power, Mr. Museveni, you have discussed with the Kenya, you have discussed with the Kony, you have this. If these people, their problem is political, is a political ambition to take over, why don't you sit with them? This is why I find a very big problem with Mr. Museveni, and I conclude that he has a different agenda, and he's only using ADF as a scarecrow, or is very soon, because if he has started it midway, the 5 years, very soon we are expecting towards the election to declare an insurgency. The state of war that no, we cannot either hold the elections, or we are going to hold the elections in a very different mode, so that he can find a way of coming back. You wait for this, and I'm seeing where we are heading. Because if only the rallies have threatened him and he's panicking.
He speaks for the NRM caucus in Parliament. Are you threatened? For sure, the Honorable Chagulanyi has really gotten crowds in eastern Uganda and big ones.
No. Uganda,
he really has a momentum for now.
Uganda is a democratic country. And we went in 2006, we participated in the multi-party democracy. We had Ochegere the other side, and people voted that we're going to Democratic Party. Now, the only problem I have with the Honorable, my brother here, Abdallah, is that he has lost hope. You know, he's forgetting. I don't know how much hope is taught in the Muslim faith, but I'm going to interest myself. Because every day...
I would advise you maybe ask how much hope is taught to him.
No, there is no hope. This man will just kill me or take me to hell.
Just leave the Muslim faith alone.
Because the Honorable Abdallah here speaks very remarkable points.
No problem.
That he should be an advocate, and he has a very beautiful chance in this government that he can actually legislate. He has the opportunity because he makes the laws. That's his mandate as a member of parliament. I would encourage him to have hope. Now, if he's saying that this kind of, I don't want to go in the law where he has informed me, because I want also to tap on the knowledge, but I want to disagree with him that they are, like you asked him, these are terrorist cases. No one, if tomorrow, God forbid, anything happened to Honorable Abdallah when he's moving, the first thing will be government. We are trying to put barricades in every corner. We are trying, this is a state. This is a government that has structures. I'll continue till we end this show to inform him. And he also knows that government has 3 arms. The other arm he sits in it, which is the parliament, and the other 2. And these arms are independent, how we execute our work. When the Honorable talks about dictatorship, these people coming, we all know. This man here is senior, he was our youth MP. He's been growing in ranks up to this biggest level he has now, the treasurer general of the biggest party, political party in this country.
Where is he getting the money from?
I know, treasurers are treasurers. He has been, he knows how parliament, and that's what he was telling, he knows how parliament works. Parliament does not only operate on plenary. No, we have committees. And most of these things they are talking here, we have had sessions. It's our responsibility now, if my colleagues would join the rest of the Ugandans, we are demanding, instead of lamenting. Now, for you to insinuate that this government, like this man now he talks, my Muko, he talks that there is no hope. Some of us are still waiting for Christ up to now. But when you're coming out of church, like I think there should be a church here every Sunday. There should be a conference. Conference centers normally have churches. If you get out Kamara and you move at that roundabout at John's Parliament, you'll find someone with a microphone telling you that Jesus loves you. This person will not know that you are from church. We must instill hope. Now, what do we do as members of parliament? What I expect from Honorable Abdallah? Not only to cry, but to make sure, because this is the mandate of people of Mukono North that have given him. Let me just conclude with this. That we should exercise our mandate as the institution. See, and luckily, he has a committee where he heads a very diligent member that all those questions can be answered. And we put our country at right. Because as they want to remove, because these guys, their issue is Museveni. They are forgetting about how do we build institutions? If we had institutions that the way we are still continuing to build, if we can still continue, I beg the pardon. If we can continue to build our institutions stronger, like we empower freedom of expression here, we exercising. Tomorrow Abdallah can be a president, Honorable Kanya can be a president because the institutions that we are building.
Okay, Honorable Jeffrey, before we take a break very quickly, he's staying on the issue of, peace talks. That why has government failed to extend an olive branch and speak to the ADF?
Just information on that. Because now that's government. I know Honorable Kanya is very well knowledgeable and he has told you the champion is in. We have set. But I told you on this screen, if we have such meetings and we are involving Honorable Abdallah, we shall be going back 100 miles. It's like washing. But as government, there are measures. We are not going to come on the screen. So now we have set and so we are going, because these are security issues. But the government has not failed. The government in measure, and that's why we have ambassadors, we have goodwill ambassadors, we have the Joint Christian Council. All these sheikhs is talking about. We are involved. And
so in this Great Lakes team where you sit, Honorable Kanya, has there been any effort to try and speak some of these negative forces in the Congo, including the ADF?
Yeah, there are efforts to engage all the warring parties within the Great Lakes 12-member state. And the Great Lakes forum at the presidential level is headed by the current president of Angola. And we, the parliamentarian, submit our finding to the share of the heads of state. The pressure now that we are putting is not only DRC, we are putting pressure on the issue of Sudan, South Sudan, and then also the question of Kivu, Goma requires a concerted effort of AU and the UN and the international financial institution to support, avail the necessary infrastructure, the road network, power, water, education, so that we do not allow poverty to be a recruiting bedrock for the militias and continue to rob the people in that region. So the action of government of Uganda by putting road needs to be supplemented by the government of DRC to provide necessary infrastructure. And the question of justice is very important, because there is violation not only of the men being killed, but the women and the children. They are really suffering, and that region requires a serious voice. But you see, it cannot only happen if we do not push our member states, especially the Parliament of Uganda, the Parliament of DRC, the Parliament of Kenya, Rwanda and Burundi, to ensure that the legal process and the institutions work.
All right, gentlemen, hold on to your points. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to open the lines. You can use our WhatsApp number and other social media platforms to send your questions or your comments, or submit what you think, the ideas that you have. Maybe you disagree with the gentleman in the studio, which is okay, but kindly remember to disagree with respect. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching On the Spot. My name is Patrick Kamara. My guests tonight are Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka, Honorable Brandon Kintu, and Honorable Geoffrey Ekanya. And as we try to conclude our discussion tonight, Honorable Abdallah, do you think the UPDF, or do you doubt the UPDF's capacity to cooperate with the people in trying to gather intelligence? Can they still do it like they used to? Or maybe some of those skills are lacking?
You see, previously, when Mr. Museveni had just come, this army called UPDF, which was previously NRA, was so much appreciated by the people. And by the time the name was changed to UPDF, it had to capture that that impression that this is a people's army.
Just ya wananchi, I used to hear in Swahili.
But right now, we have gone back to the times of Amin, to the times of Obote.
Really?
And this is a fact.
Really?
We should be appreciated by my colleagues in power. There is no any action of terror which was committed by those forces, which is not being committed by the current forces. The divisions in the army, even for them, many of them are not appreciative about what is happening. I'm the shadow minister as far as the forces are concerned, as far as the police is concerned, as far as the UPDF is. I interact with them, I know what is happening. The torture, the theft which are being, theft of land, we have heard of what is happening in Apa. When you move closer to the MPs who are complaining on the floor of parliament, you just know that the people in the army are the ones grabbing people's land. Just go in Mukono here, in Inamataba here, and I'm saying this with pain. You find an army has taken over people's land. Recently I made an appointment. I believe IGP is watching me. He knows what I told him. The RPC, Mr. Tanui, he knows what I told him. The RPC, Mr. Kampala East, Wagwire, knows what I'm talking about. So those actions which are being done by the army.
But that's the army or individual officers who you have a problem with.
You see, you could call it individual officers. It is, first of all, you use public gadgets. Like what? Public guns, cars.
Still land.
Cars, yes. You go in a uniform. They don't go
right.
not carrying anything. So what I'm talking about, people can no longer trust this army. And it is going to, unless there is a regime change, which is now being closed into a standby generator, that it is going to be a regime change. Maybe there is some hope somewhere. So people should start trusting him. Everything you should do, you should leave it to him.
All right.
As we talk now, ladies, fellow Ugandans, fellow countrymen, anticipating actually more insecurity perpetrated, and much is going to be committed by the security officials. All the offenses which we are seeing on the road.
Okay. All right. Let me, as we conclude, I want to conclude from where we started. Honorable Kanya, I understand there are some individuals who were former allies or friends of Uganda and now have joined now the security and political infrastructure apparatus of Congo. I'm talking about people like Jean-Pierre Bemba, people like Mbusa Nyamwisi, Tebasima Tenyi, who are now deep in the government. Can't these maybe help in the Uganda-Congo relation much more in the fight against the negative forces? How can they be used?
The question that is really now being debated at African level and at the region is the lack of commitment of the participating forces to wipe out the militias and end insecurity in that part of Congo. What the people are demanding within the region and international community is that the governments of the region needs to put the same force and commitment they put in Somalia to deal with Al-Shabaab. Somalia was completely gone state. The same type of support that they decided to put in Central Africa to bring a bit of stability, that's demanded. The same type of support that the regional government put in Burundi to stabilize that region is what is required. And that pressure is mounting because most of these former militias who have now joined the government of DRC have abandoned the level of commitment to bring peace and stability from the community where they are coming from.
You know, DRC has been a challenging place for quite some time. I think it even claimed the life of a UN Secretary General, Dag Hammarskjöld.
Yes, and it caused the removal of the head of state of this country.
So anyway, I just want you, Brandon, to at least respond to these allegations you are hearing from your colleague that the UPDF is actually in the habit of stealing land, causing insecurity. As a member of parliament and a shadow minister, I don't think you're going to let that go without a response.
If I was his appointing authority, right now I would say I've reshuffled and sent him in general duties. Because he's supposed to create security. He's a shadow minister of security, but he's just causing insecurity. First of all, the Uganda People's Defense Forces, they don't have an entity that he oversees as a member of the committee. You asked me a very simple question, that are these individuals, we have come away from the situation where people used to say, this is order from above. The above himself had just spoken a few hours ago. During COVID, he even mentioned it, that we don't want anyone who will abuse people's right to say orders from above. He's talking about land. I remind him, because I know he knows, that right from his village, there is a village land committee. Up to the national level, the Uganda Land Commission, we have a land board. At the district all over, I think even the municipalities do have, like in Mukono. These are structures. We should not break our structures because they are doing politics. Now, talking about soldier, how do you even speak on national television that Uganda is going back to the times of Amin? Yet, you can even call a general and question. Today in Parliament, for your information, I even saw you. People are grilling a general on the floor of Parliament, which you couldn't do previously. We have, as government, brought these institutions together. We have these armed officers on our committees. I sit with you with the, I'm surprised, Patrick, we sit with the commander of land forces, General, And they are friends. They even normally sometimes WhatsApping and chatting while we're in the committee. I'm surprised that he cannot raise those issues and is here to cry for you.
Him as WhatsApping General Welu in the committee meeting?
We sit together with General Welu. Let him deny it's his birthday. Now, these are just, but my brother, I cannot blame my brother because he has to do activism politics. You know, when we talk with them, they also say, you know, what would I have said? Because we must.
Anyway, okay.
So, okay. But just mind, I know in his heart that we have a very disciplined, that's why even the name changed, Uganda People's Defense Forces. Uganda, last time when I was with him in the committee, we accredited prisons for performing very well. These are all forces.
All right, gentlemen.
So the forces are professional.
Gentlemen,
and very
our time is out.
disciplined.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you kindly, each one of you very briefly, to give us and our viewers your concluding remark. Let me begin with you, Abdallah.
Within 1 minute?
Yes.
Less than even.
I leave this to Ugandans. You see, this country does not belong to me. And I believe so many Ugandans, the way I see things in this country happening, we share the same view. And of course, somebody cannot deny that UPDF and its allies or other agencies are not abducting people. They are not detaining them in places which are unknown or which are unknown under the law and what have you. So as far as that one is concerned, I'm leaving it to Ugandans. If it is activism politics, as he's saying, that one I'm leaving it to you. Two, as I said, the atrocities committed, all of them you know. You compare what happened, those of you who were not there in the 70s or in the early 80s, you must read and compare and contrast, then you will know what I'm talking about. Lastly, Mr. Museveni, when he was talking about the security situation, he talked about the Jew and Congolese. He talked about the sheikhs, our sheikhs here, Sheikh Chiria, and what have you, Sheikh Abdul Karim, then Major Chigun. He mentioned these names. Still, I'm reminding him, wherever these people were murdered, immediately several people were arrested and taken to court. I want to know, we are counting 7 years, how far are these cases? If still we are to support you to do the action you are doing, that you have to fight them directly using guns, how far are these cases? If you have not got any conviction, please, Mr. Museveni, call upon you to consider another alternative way of dealing with the rebellion by talking with these people.
Thank you, Abdallah. Honorable Brandon.
Thank you so much. I would like just to remind Honorable Abdallah that we have committees. We have the Committee of Human Rights. We have the Committee of Equal Opportunities. These are all committees of Parliament. So where such issues can be reported, and he's also aware that there are some steps that have been taken. We are not saying that any development country, in any developing democracy, there could be some hiccups. We are growing, but let us put our hands together as an institution to regulate and make sure our institutions do to the best of the Ugandans. I would like to affirm Ugandans, there is government, we are taking all the necessary steps to make sure that all your rights and freedoms are really kept in the most safest place. As we do take care of the Honorable Abdallah. You may, Patrick, for your information, the man is talking about police, but you know, we have some incentives we get when we are members of Parliament. You may find that there is somebody waiting for him to guard him up. But I would like to thank you for the opportunity of sharing with the senior.
You have a sharpshooter.
Oh, yeah, sharing with senior here, having a platform, and also my brother, a very competent legislator, and it's a very good opportunity.
Jeffrey, your parting shot.
We are really demanding that the conflict in DRC should not take, should have a time frame. We demand a time frame, and we demand detailed report and action that will lead to an end of the suffering, the serious human rights violation. And Mr. Museveni, really, having been there for all these years, the conflict of DRC cannot be there and even be transferred to his grandchildren. This conflict can be brought to an end. It requires commitment, the same commitment that UPDF put in Somalia, put in Burundi, to bring this question of conflict of Kivu, Goma, and other areas to an end. Because the serious violation of human rights is affecting our business and affecting our pockets.
Maybe, Patrick, just one thing I don't want to leave Busoga. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Kingdom of Busoga.
Oh, you have
Today we have gotten a queen. Congratulations, Your Royal Highness. And as Busoga, we are all excited, and we are ready now to move as a kingdom with the Queen Mother.
Just maybe if you can clarify more about the name. I know the name is both in other parts of Uganda and beyond, and in Busoga. People have gone crazy about the name.
You know, the challenge is that traditionally,
yes.
I have no mandate to describe the Queen Mother.
You can't.
That will be for the Prime Minister of the kingdom.
but what I know, the name is both in Busoga and somewhere else.
It should be richer names.
People shouldn't worry. Honorable Jeffrey Kanya, Member of Parliament for Tororo, thank you so much. Honorable Brandon Kintu, MP for Kagoma, thank you. Honorable Abdallah Kiwanuka, Member of Parliament for Mukono North. Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. This evening I've seen 3 individuals who are so passionate about Uganda. You only differ on the approach, but I'm sure you want the best results. And Ugandans are watching, and I'm sure maybe you have your own conclusions. Good night, and God bless Uganda.